So TV and media entities like broadcasters in this market, like ITV, which I talked a little bit about today, they were our first adopters of the technology. And so we work with almost every broadcaster in this market. And the way that we work with them is that we've helped to power new products that they've launched in market. And so I'll take ITV as an example. They launched a product called Data Match, powered by our technology, and it's a part of their broader Planet V solution. And what Data Match does is it enables a brand, so let's use the example I covered today, which was a high street bank, to bring their data and match it against ITV's ITVX audience. Then ITV can create a lookalike, and you can have more precise targeting. And so in this specific example, they did an exclusion campaign and saw incredible lifts in conversion. And so that's just one very specific example. I would say it's always around planning, activation, and measurement. And so all of these broadcasters in this market have really just launched new products, and it's allowing them to utilize their audiences for a brand to bring their audience to the table, but to do so without ever risking that data is handed over or that there's a loss of control.
Mm-hmm. And TV has traditionally been seen as a mass reach medium. How are you seeing the evolution of buyer understanding or appetite to reach smaller but more relevant pockets of audiences?
I think it all comes down to performance, and I think that's the theme. Heard a lot about that today. And what I mean by that is you may have a very specific objective as a brand around a new product that you're launching. And so the notion that it has to be mass reach when you have the capability to help focus the campaign, and that's where data-driven advertising comes in. So if you have an understanding, a lookalike segment that is a lookalike of your existing client base, but you exclude the client base in the campaign, then you're more likely to get some of those conversions and to start adding new customers to your products. And I think that's where the power of a broad audience from a starting point, which has always been the story of TV, but also blended with data-driven advertising really starts to come in. You start to see very specific objectives being met. And I think brands today, because there's so many avenues, because there's so many options, we can get into retail media as a very specific example. I think all of it just brings new data to the table, allows someone to maybe take what was an impossible objective for marketing and make it much more realistic.
And the broadcasters here in the UK, ITV and Channel 4, some of your partners, for example, they have hit some extraordinary user numbers in 2023 in terms of the number of registered users they have, all of which serves to power first-party data used to target advertising, which is a technique employed by some major retailers here in the UK, Boots, Tesco and Sainsbury's. Give us some proof points or examples of how that you're helping those retailers find distinct audiences.
Sure. So I'll use Channel 4 as an example. They've launched a product called Retail. So they had a product called Brand Match, which just allowed any brand to bring their first-party data and match it against Channel 4's audience. But then they brought in retailers to add to that equation. And so what I mean by that is Channel 4's understanding of an audience, the retailer's understanding of loyalty, and then that is a product and market that's been incredibly performant for CPGs like Pepsi. And so that's sort of an example of where this technology, in the old way of doing data connectivity, you were limited to just two parties partnering. What data clean rooms can offer is multi-party collaboration without ever risking loss of control and without risking privacy or security. And so you take something like a hot topic like retail media and you make it so it's fast, it's easy, and it's performant. We've also seen that across some of our other broadcasters, and we're starting to see that trend of retailers are no longer just brands. Retailers are also no longer just publishers in their own right. Retailers are also data partners. And so we kind of work with all three entities, but it's most fascinating, and I'll use Boots as an example, where we actually work with sort of all of those components of the business. Wow. The media team's powering more effective advertising so they can get more people in the stores, their retail media division, and then even as they partner with broadcasters, that overlap of retail data and CTV data, which has been really, really powerful for CPGs.
And lastly, how do you think 2024 will be different from 2023?
Well, as I said today, we've moved from chaos to clarity in terms of just understanding the basics of data clean room technology and recognizing the fact that it's not just a hype, it's performant, that there are real case studies, real products out in market that are powered by this technology. I think in 2024, it's all about scale. It's all about more case studies, more examples, making this a must-buy product, and just powering new innovative solutions, whether that's brands, whether that's retailers, whether that's broadcasters. I think it'll continue to be relevant to a lot of the other topics that television companies are focused on, like measurement. Data collaboration technology is critical for better, more effective measurement and for protecting the data that helps power that better, more effective measurement. And so I think data collaboration is going to be a critical glue in solving a lot of problems in 2024, and we're going to start to see it scale.